A genuine intuitive hit feels very quiet, feels specific, it feels like a nudge. Whereas fear or anxiety can feel very loud, it can feel very dramatic and focuses on that worst case scenario. Welcome to the Glow Up Revolution podcast, a podcast for overgivers, overachievers, and the strong ones in the room. We discuss everything from neuroscience-based burnout prevention to magic spells we can cast for upcoming job opportunities and everything in between. Welcome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome back to the Glow Up Revolution podcast. I am your host, Megan Winkler, and today we are talking about our third eye chakra, how it can show up balanced or imbalanced in our day-to-day and our business lives. And I cannot believe we're here. Like, we're almost done with this series. And what I have planned for you after this series is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a fun little pivot into some specific witchy business things that are all still focused on burnout prevention as well. So even if you don't own a business, don't go anywhere, because all the tips and tricks that I share about when it comes to our business will also work in your work life and your regular life. So there is room for all of us. But that is not our topic for today. Our topic for today is, of course, the third eye chakra. So this is my favorite chakra. I think I said that last time. And this episode, like all the others, is not medical advice, not psychiatric advice. I am a coach. I am not a doctor. So even when I talk about things that correspond to an imbalance in this chakra, that is from like the traditional understanding and approach for that chakra. So, and as always, these are standalone, so you can come back and listen to this whenever you want to. And let's get started. So our third eye actually sits in the center of our forehead. So my eyebrows come together here. You can see this on the video. And so it's like right here. And actually, the location of your third eye, if you're watching me on YouTube, I guess I'll move my arm a little bit. If you also take your finger and place it kind of like in the very center of your head, and if you can imagine there being a line coming out of both index fingers and where that intersects, kind of like right here, I'm pointing to the side of my head, that in the very center of your skull is where your third eye is actually located. And it's your pineal gland, essentially. And I've actually recently heard this called the witch's eye as well. So that's definitely a more of a witchy take on it. It is in Sanskrit pronounced Anja, or Ajna, and that means command or perceive. So it is the inner sight. It is our witch's eye. It is our third eye. It is our perception place. And interestingly enough, I also learned recently that there are actually some species of animals that can detect light through that part of their brain. And it's like, it really is like a third sight, a second sight for them, right? A third eye, a second sight, because it's responding to light. And that's what our eyes do. Our eyes respond to light frequency, and that's how we can see things. So I thought that was really fascinating that they haven't really correlated that for human beings, but there are some species that are able to perceive light through their third eye. So who knows what else we're picking up with our third eye, right? So it is associated with the element of light, which makes sense. It is the color indigo, so kind of this deep, rich blue color. And if you think about the chakra, the throat chakra is kind of a turquoise, and the crown is usually a purple. The third eye is kind of that in between, rich, purpley blue, gorgeous color. And it is where our kind of sixth sense, our extrasensory perception, or our clairs are located. So it governs intuition, imagination, insight, all the eyes. And it helps your ability to see clearly, both literally and metaphorically. So an open third eye doesn't mean that every internal signal is a psychic download, though. So we get internal signals from our fear. We get internal signals from our gut. So I just want to kind of throw that out there as a reminder that we could be getting intuitive hits, gut feelings, and it might not be a psychic ability. It might be like our body picking up on things in the environment. Okay. So really a healthy third eye is more about discerning the signals that you're getting. Sorry, I swear my brain is going faster than my mouth today. And I think it's because I'm talking about the third eye. And it is, for me, the chakra that I can feel the most and the easiest. It is the chakra that I intentionally exercise the most. So when I am giving a Reiki session, I am connecting through my third eye. I actually envision a rainbow kind of coming out, almost like a rainbow bridge, like very much from like the Avengers movies. But like this rainbow bridge, like Heimdall is like opening it up, basically coming from my third eye. So when I'm receiving energy healing, when I'm getting a massage, all of that, like I can also feel it. And it's really funny because I've had some healers, massage therapists that can feel it too. They're like, wow, that was really activated. So I think my overactivity is because that chakra is just like, oh, hey, we're doing this again. Because I always try to open up to the universe as I'm talking to you about certain things. So, yeah. So hopefully my mouth will keep up with my brain. So let's talk about these signs of imbalance. So a deficient third eye chakra, so a third eye chakra that is closed or mostly closed, can look like difficulty trusting your own instincts. It can look like over-reliance on outside opinions before deciding anything. It can look like feeling disconnected from your inner knowing, your inner wisdom. It can also look like cynicism toward intuition entirely. Like you can get really cynical about things if your third eye is closed, or if you meet a person who has a very deficient third eye, they get really snarky about intuition and they get really judgy and cynical, and they ask a lot of questions about intuition, but it's always like kind of a snide set of questions, like, really? Seriously? If you have an excessive and too open third eye, then you can sometimes have difficulty distinguishing between intuition and anxiety. You can sometimes overthink and be perceiving that as checking in energetically. We see this with some spiritual bypassing, quite honestly. Like some people that are all just like love and light and it's a wonderful thing and it's I'm all about the optimism all the time. And I guess I'm saying that in a mocking voice, but that could be because their third eye is just like way too open. Like, come on, bring it back down to reality. Because that's the thing, is we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but that human experience requires us to be grounded. And it can also look like trying to find meaning in everything, especially to the point of avoiding practical decision making. Okay. So again, that lack of grounding. Physically, it could look like headaches. It could look like eye strained. It could look like difficulty sleeping. It could look like a foggy or unfocused mental state. I would also say that if someone came to me and were like, I'm having really, really, really off the wall wild dreams out of nowhere, I would definitely be checking to see if their third eye was maybe too open. And just like, close it a little bit. In daily life, it can look like a specific exhaustion of searching. So what I mean by that is you're like continually searching for others' opinion or validation and trying to find an answer when you know the answer is no, or when you know what the answer is. It could also be acting out of kind of an anxious thought. And I know, and I say this very carefully because I am somebody who I'm on medication for my anxiety. So I understand how convincing anxiety is. And whenever you're dealing with anxiety, I personally find that if I ask myself if it's something I'm anxious about or something that I should actually be worried about, that helps me discern, right? So that's just something to look out for. If you kind of find yourself in this self-doubt loop, it could be that your third eye just needs a little love and a little help. So here are some ways that you can love on your third eye and you can support your third eye throughout the week. So a few minutes of quiet, undistracted stillness each day can really help. And I'm not saying you have to meditate for 10, 15, 30 minutes, anything like that. I'm saying set a timer for 2 minutes and just be quiet. Turn the ringers off, close the door, and just sit still. You could even like sit still and just watch the birds out the window. Like you don't even have to like meditate. Okay. So reduced screen time before making decisions can kind of help because your eyes are very close to your third eye. And if you have been visually overstimulated by like TV or a movie or even like crowds, it can kind of quiet that internal signal. So make sure you're giving yourself time to like regroup. Indigo and purple foods, of course, are really great. So blackberries, grapes, purple cabbage. Some people call them red onions. I call them purple onions. Purple cauliflower, it like looks like a brain anyway. Tastes like regular cauliflower, is really pretty in salads. So any of those purple or really rich blue foods, so herbal teas as well would be great. Dream journaling can really help you tap into your third eye chakra, right? Because this chakra is really tied to the subconscious. Again, if it's like in the center of our head, like it really is in the middle of our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn system, right? It's really tied to that quote unquote monkey brain in the very center of our heads. So it's tied to the subconscious. Makes sense. Start tracking your hits too. So this is actually something we talked about on Two Witches Talking. We talked about a book of mirrors. And so that is just kind of writing down your intuitive hits, your dreams, when things come true, when spells work out. When you kind of create this magical evidence journal, it helps you to realize and remember all the times that your intuition was spot on. Okay? Because a lot of times we can just be like, no, that wasn't that big a deal. I didn't really remember it that way. We can really discount ourselves. So that'll help you track it. So balancing practices, obviously Reiki is a great balancing practice, especially if you're having headaches. Reiki can work wonders. I use Reiki on my headaches all the time. And I very rarely have to take a Tylenol, although I will if I need it. I am not anti-medication. Meditation focused on the space between thoughts or really focused on that part of your head. You can kind of create an internal sacred space for yourself that can really help strengthen your third eye. Gemstones such as amethyst, lapis lazuli, and labradorite. I'm actually wearing labradorite today. Can really help, especially if you place them on your third eye during meditation. So I actually have another piece right here. And sometimes it's just like, I won't even like meditate for long. Just like breathe in, put it on your forehead, just completely chill out. And it helps to just kind of soothe that area in my experience. Visualization practices are really great. So kind of picturing outcomes before they happen and then noticing how accurate you are over time. So like this is actually a way you can play with your psychic abilities and your third eye is if you know you're going to go to the donut store, let's say this weekend. And so you think, okay, so I'm going to drive up and I bet that there will be a big truck in the parking lot next to me. And I'm going to go inside And I bet there's going to be a mom with a little girl in a cute sundress. And then I bet they're going to have a really fun summer into fall donut, maybe like a maple donut. So I need to look for a maple donut. And then just see, like visualize yourself going and just like let your brain say, oh, I bet this, I bet that, I bet I'm going to see this. And then when you go, see how many things line up. Just see, just play with it, just have fun. And then lastly, if you're able to reduce your decision fatigue in any way, this can really help allow your third eye to do its job. Okay. And I know that that's difficult, reducing decision fatigue. A lot of times that means we have to just kind of step away from making decisions for a little while, and that's not always feasible. However, if you, I don't know, were to pick up a book about burnout prevention, it's not over here right now. Maybe one called Breaking Up with Burnout by Megan Winkler. There are some ways to kind of help reduce your fatigue, your exhaustion, and your overwhelm. All right, so let's talk about how this can show up in your work life or if you own a business. And it's really, I think it works for personal life too. It's being able to tell a real intuitive hit from fear or projection. Okay. So this is a very specific business example, but I bet you can find a way to apply it to your everyday real life outside of work, right? So in business, a blocked third eye can look one of two ways. One, it can look like dismissing every gut sense because it cannot be justified on a spreadsheet or a KPI or an ROI. And this works too if you're on a team and you're like, you feel like you should do a thing or the team should do a thing, and your boss is like, we need evidence to back that up. And so you just kind of train yourself to dismiss that. Okay. The other is calling every anxious impulse intuition. Okay, so like anytime something feels off, like jumping to the conclusion that you need to offboard the client or you need to abandon a strategy 3 weeks in because you don't feel like you're getting the results you want. When really, sometimes in business, things just take a while and it's going to be uncomfortable. And when I say a while, it might take 3 or 4 weeks for something to stick and for something to actually start paying off. That's actually you moving pretty fast, quite honestly. So real discernment sounds kind of boring. Real discernment isn't all that dramatic. A genuine intuitive hit feels very quiet, feels specific. It feels like a nudge. Whereas fear or anxiety can feel very loud. It can feel very dramatic and focuses on that worst case scenario. Okay. So there have been times that my intuition has told me not to do something. And it's not like, oh my God, if you do this, it's going to be really bad. It's, for me, I'm not sure why, but this doesn't feel right. And so I go in and I'm like, okay, why doesn't it feel right? And it's just like, there's just something off here. And so it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to do it. But it's having that question answer session with yourself that I think is really, really important. Because if you have this thought about, man, I don't think this is the right decision right now, and you go in and you investigate it, and you find that, no, it was just really fear standing in the way, then, you move on and you go ahead and try it anyway, in most cases, as long as it's legal. Don't get yourself in trouble, friends. However, if you have this moment of like, I don't think this is right, and you don't feel fearful, you don't feel anxious, you don't feel worst case scenario, it's just like, I don't know. Might be something to trust, Ultimately, it's up to you. It's up to you to follow the nudges or disregard the nudges, however they may look, right? And so sometimes it's really scary too to make the bold call to hire the person or work with the coach or raise the price or even walk away from a client. But our intuition helps us do that with clarity, with a firm, gentle, grounded understanding that this is the right call versus, oh my God, I'm going to freak out, kind of fear. So this week, when a strong internal signal shows up for you around a decision, I encourage you to not act on it or dismiss it right away. Ask if it's loud or quiet. Ask if it's specific, if it's just a general knowing, or if it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, it's going to happen. And just start developing this practice of listening to your intuition. Jot things down, especially your dreams. See what patterns show up. And then come back next week where we will wrap up this series on the crown chakra and creating more connection with yourself and the universe. I want to do a quick shout out of my Patreon members, my paid Patreon. We've got a new paid Patreon. Your name is Maura. Thank you so much for being here, Maura. You are amazing. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And if you would like to join Patreon and you're listening and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not on Patreon, you can join us for free. And there you can see all of the videos of the podcast. And if you join for as little as $3 a month, you get little weekly extra bonuses. The bonus for today's podcast is our one pager for the Third Eye Chakra. This is great for your journal, your book shadows, or just as a quick reference sheet if you're meditating, if you're going through a Reiki training, whatever. And that'll be available to all paid Patreon members. Come hang out with me on Instagram. I've got a lot of really good content going up there. And also you can check out my website. I've just recently refreshed the brand. It's very witchy. Y'all will love it. That's meganwinkler.com. All of those important links are down in the show notes. And until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay hydrated, and as always, stay magical.